Banks hate him. So I got inspired by this ad. Language professors hate him. Doctors discover revealed the secret to speaking any language in just 10 days. And yeah, that's what we've been doing, kind of. I mean, we were 7.1 years estimated to be debt free for $428,000 of debt. And let's just do this one more time again. Yeah, so we're going to pay off debt and we're going to start off with a good income, lots of expenses, and a little bit left over in checking and savings. And what do y'all think? Do you think that if, I don't know, 10,000 people learned this strategy, that the bank would hate me? He or me equals him, right? Banks hate him, banks hate me. That's what we're gonna do to pay off debt. All right, so let's go ahead and get started in, for the first step to paying off debt is creating a budget. Your budget is your debt attack plan. You have your income, expenses, leftover checking and savings. And then on top of that, you have all of your debts, right? So debts, we have 6 credit cards, auto loan, student loan, mortgage. And then we also have our personal expenses that are not tied to debt. So food, gas, insurance, and then we'll say on average $2,000 a month. Now, this could vary. And I know that for most people it will, but as long as you have a general round figure, you should be fine. So what we're going to do to pay off debt using this quote velocity method is we're going to assume we have the same income and the same expenses. All right, same income, same expenses. And then this is what we're going to do here. So you see our checking and savings, right? Checking and savings just simply goes to 0. Okay, so it goes to 0. And what we're going to do is focus on this cash flow number. Now, what's the difference between left and right? Because they look exactly the same, except that you put the checking and savings to 0. Well, conceptually, right, this is a conceptual idea, is that your checking account is seen as the final destination of your money on the left side, average American banking side. And on the right side, it's going to be something called your line of credit. So our checking and savings is not the final destination of our money. It's just a temporary stop. Money comes into our checking account, we get paid, and then as soon as it hits a checking account, we move everything. It doesn't matter if you get paid bi-weekly, monthly, whatever, yearly, whatever, into a line of credit. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to assume we have a line of credit. So if you don't know what a line of credit is, basically a financial tool where you can borrow money, pay it back, and then use it over and over again, right? So we have we're going to assume we have a $100,000 8% line of credit, free and clear. Now, pop quiz, if you know where that is, that's from the movie Speed. I think it's from the movie Speed. Pop quiz, hot shot. If you have little money left over and you make good money and you have lots of debt, will the bank give you a free and clear line of credit? The answer to that is no, because banks don't lend money to people who need it, because people who need money, according to the bank, are very bad people, right? And why are they very bad people? Because the bank has figured out throughout, as an institution, with the gajillions of transactions that they do, statistically, people who need money don't pay you back, right? That's why they lend money to people who need it. So their hope is that, when you first started out in life, you had no debt, and then they just kind of entice you with debt with mailers, advertisements, web ads, and then eventually you'll, get your life force drained, right, with all these credit cards and loans, and you'll have nothing left over, and that's when they have maximum profit. And so the reason why they don't want to lend you anymore is because they don't want to risk not getting paid 90 days late. So if you want to know the ultimate sin of a bank, it's getting paid 90 days late, right? So why do we assume we have a free and clear line of credit, even though it's unrealistic? It's because it's actually easier to understand the strategy than even a real life scenario. In fact, let me pull a real life scenario. Give me one moment. All right, so this is a real life scenario that I got sent about 2 years ago, but you take a look here, 22 debts, right? 22 debts, $4.10 left over, and a maxed out personal line of credit. Ooh, that was a doozy. This person. So what usually happens when people have a line of credit is it just treated as another maxed out credit card. But I remember when I went through this scenario, it took me 1 hour and 30 minutes to go over, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to do that for just an intro to the concept for these videos. But if you want to see that video, it's under a paywall, 99 cents. YouTube membership. So if you want to just check it out, go ahead and join. So we're going to show how easy life would be if we had a free and clear line of credit at this time. Okay. So what do we do next is we basically rank our debts using something called the cash flow index, right? So we have our income divided by the monthly payment, right? Income divided by the monthly payment, or not income, debt amount divided by the monthly payment. And this gives us an arbitrary number. And then think of this as a ranking system. And the higher the number, that's the one you want to pay off last. And the lower the number, that's the one you want to pay off first, right? Usually below 50, it's okay to move into the line of credit. And so why do we want to pay off the mortgage last? Because it's about bang for our buck. Because it's literally like, hey, you have to give someone $250,000 for only $1,100 of cash flow. Whereas if I pay this credit card and this credit card, that's pretty much the $35,000 gives us the same amount of cash flow for the mortgage, right? So that's why we pay off the mortgage last. We don't pay it off first, right? Somebody introduced me to this idea of the pill method and said the pill method says pay off the mortgage first. And that doesn't jive with me. So that's what I'm going to say. All right. So now what we're going to do is take these low cash flow index numbers and move them into the line of credit. So that's going to be 5, 8, 15, 27, 37. And I'm going to go ahead and sum it up. And then that's $92,000 of credit card debt. And then this is where the magic happens, right? To show you the magic. I just move the credit card debt into a line of credit, right? I just moved it. I didn't get rid of the debt, just debt transfer, right? And guess what happens here? These credit cards go to zero. Now look at this. This checking and savings that was originally $460 has now turned to over $3,500 of cash flow. Okay, like you take a look at that and you're like, whoa, I cannot believe it's not butter. That's the type of feeling that I get. In fact, you know, let me tell you this. If you show this to any one of your friends, I guarantee you they know that they can't dispute this because I'm just doing this in Excel, and Excel is literally just A plus B, right? Or C2 minus C3. You know, it's basic like 5th grade math. So I can't pull the nonsense that you see sometimes with the whiteboard where it gets confusing. It's literally A minus B math. Same income, you know, we just shift some expenses, and then now we have over 3,000, right? So you think if the bank sees that many people have learned this, how much they would hate, quote me, language professors hate him, banks hate him, right? I don't know who him is. I don't know if it refers to me or just somebody in general, right? So that's essentially what we're gonna do. And then what we're gonna do is dump our entire paycheck into the line of credit, $8,000 into the line, expenses out, and then rinse and repeat over and over again. So after every single month, the balance of the line of credit should go down by the cash flow. So 3515.47. And then what we're gonna do is take the average daily balance, multiply by the interest rate, and then divide by 12. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and copy and paste this. And then this is gonna be paid off in 29 months, right? So you see right here, all right, I'm gonna zoom in, 29, right there, 29. All right, so now we paid off $92,000 in 29 months. 29 months, 92K. All right, so now we paid these cards off, and then we have the auto loan, student loan, and the mortgage. So now we just got to use our loan calculator to figure out what the current balances are. Whoopsie. To figure out what the current balances are in month 29. So luckily we got this loan calculator here to tell us to figure out which debts do we pay off. Oh my goodness, shouldn't we pay off this 7% interest debt, right? Because that's what a lot of people focus on, 7% interest. But there's a little bit more nuance to that story than simply just the 7%, because the 3 factors that affect the loan payment is not just the interest rate, it's also the term and the original balance, right? So you'll notice that because the term is longer and here the term is shorter, we might be focusing on this one, which we will because it has the lowest cash flow index, more bang for our buck. 24 grand for 826. versus 32 grand. Okay, 32 grand for $464.43, right? So we literally pay more for less cash flow or pay less for more cash flow, right? So that's why we're going to focus on this 3, not necessarily for the 3. We are simply ignoring the interest rate in this example and just moving into line of credit. Now, there are times where we will focus on the interest rate. And the only time I would say that really matters is when the cash flow index is relatively high and the loan interest rate is relatively low. So, all right, let's go ahead and do this. And then we're going to do this $826 and $4,000 of cash flow. Okay, and then we're going to do Control V, going to be minus 4042.03. All right. And then now this is 35 months. Okay, 35 months paid off, right? So 35 months paid off. So easy. Oh my goodness. I didn't know that a car loan would just take me 6 months to pay off, but here we are. So 46 plus 92, and that's 138K. All right. All right, so you might be wondering, how do I do this so fast? It's because I just literally record myself going over the same situation over and over again. And I'm a true believer of that Bruce Lee quote, where I fear the man who does one kick 10,000 times, then, I do 10,000 kicks once. And that's what happens with a lot of people when you get like shiny object syndrome. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not immune to shiny object syndrome either. But whenever I get it, I end up failing, and then I have to go back to the basics, which is what works, right? So student loan and the mortgage. So let me just kind of go back here. So we're at month 35. So this is 0, 35, 35. And then we see that this is the balances of the debt, right? So this is the balance of the debt. Okay, so 7%, 4%. Relatively low cash flow index. So just a general rule of thumb, even though this is not below 50, okay, we can still move the loan into line of credit if the interest rate, rule of thumb, if the interest rate is same or higher in the loan than the line of credit, then you're safe to move. This is very similar, but I think we might be leaving some money on the table, but it's not going to be that big of a deal. But I'm going to move this 31 grand of the loan, student loan that's left, into the line of credit. Z line of credit. Let me copy and paste this. And then it's going to be right here. So it's going to be plus 31055.41. And then, okay, so student loan, 0. We get an extra $464 back in our cash flow. Okay, Control V. So this is going to be minus 4806.46. And then we see that in month 42, right? 42 months, it's going to be 138 plus 40. So that's 178K. Okay. And so now that's left is this $250,000 mortgage. So at month 42, what's the balance of a $250,000 mortgage? It's 233 grand. Woohoo! All right. Okay. I'm the best. No, I'm just kidding. No, actually, I am the best. I literally am the best. That's why banks hate him, and possibly language professors. I am the best. Okay. All right. So now, $233,000. Okay. So we have two options here. The mortgage is our final loan. And the most important thing, again, is we pay off the debt in the right order. Because if we pay off the mortgage first, then we're going to be essentially be making minimum payments on these cash flow sucking debts, especially with the higher interest rates. So now we have two options, okay? First option is just doing the extra payments, or you could just still use a line of credit. Just dump money into a line of credit, expenses out, and rinse and repeat over and over again. Now, I'm going to tell you something about extra payments. Extra payments is the default option that nobody does. And why is that? It's because simply overpaying a loan or even a credit card introduces friction in how your money flows, right? So that's why people never do it. Most people know they can do it. But what's special about a line of credit is that as soon as you dump your money in, you could get the entire amount out, right? makes it easier to overpay things. Now, I'm not saying that you can't overpay a loan. That's why the default option appears, but it's kind of like going to the gym in January. You don't want to go to the gym in January. In fact, it's the cheapest option to go to the gym in New Year's because nobody goes, right? It's the default option that nobody will do. So what we're going to show you here is that, hey, if you know how to pay off the debt right, and even if this is your last loan, right? What that with the and you pay it with the line of credit that has a higher interest rate, you'll still be fine. You'll still be fine. In fact, I'm going to show you that even using a 1% line of credit and a 15% line of credit is relatively negligible, because it's all about whatever your cash flow is, and you're using that line of credit kind of as a bridge to help you overpay pay the debt, right? So let me just kind of show you here. So let's say we move $8,000 of this loan into the line of credit. So I'll just move this right here. So plus 8000. And then we see that even in 1 month that gets completely paid off. And then we see about every 2 months or so, right? I think every 2 months or so, it gets paid off. Actually, let me do this again. Oopsie. Right? Okay. Yeah. All right. So every 2 months or so, this gets paid off. Yeah. And basically, that's what we're trying to show, right? So basically, what do we call this? This is called, I call it a sweep, but it was originally known as a chunk. But it's just how much you're moving from the loan into a line of credit. Now, let me just kind of show you this. I already have the details filled out, but let's say I used an 8% line of credit. So according to this calculator, based on my current numbers, it's going to take me 3.6 years and I'll pay about 18 grand of interest. Okay. Now, what if I did this as a 1% line of credit, which doesn't even exist, right? 1%, 16 grand of interest. So you kind of see that the line of credit, the interest rate is almost negligible, right? And a lot of people don't know this because they said, "Oh my goodness, an 8% line of credit, you're ruining your life, paying a 4%." No, that's not how it works. Okay. The only way that you can really ruin your life is if you move this entire loan into a line of credit. But when you do it in pieces, you're doing it strategically, and you're making it easy to pay off the loan, right? Even the 30-year mortgage, okay? Even if it's a lower interest rate. Now, if you had a 0% line of credit, then I would move that entire loan into a line of credit, because I literally paid no interest. You know, that 16 grand I thought I was going to pay, I'm not going to do that. But let's say, you know, if this is an 8% line of credit, then I end up paying more money than I have to. And if this is a 30% line of credit, like a credit card, look at that. I'm paying like 1.3 million of interest. But here's a crazy thing, all right? Let's say I do it in small pieces, small amounts, like 8,000. It's relatively small. You see, so that's why I say doing in pieces is not as scary compared to replacing the entire loan with the line of credit, right? So you don't want to replace the entire loan with the line of credit. Okay. All right. Well, all right. So let's go ahead and go back here, and let me just say this is an 8% line of credit. So 3.6 years, I'm going to just do that right here, and 0. So that's going to be 7.1 years and debt free. And what's the other conclusion we can make? Banks hate him. All right. So if you made it to the end of this video and you want to let me know, just type in the comment box below, "Banks hate him," right? And put an exclamation mark to let the YouTube comments know that you're serious about how banks hate him. All right. Well, okay. Well, that's it for today, folks. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video.